everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So, some people may get the impression that I am addicted to gorgeous babes and beautiful women and stuff like that. And to those people, I would just like to say that you're absolutely correct. You see, instead of me, doing drugs and, stuff like that, I am addicted to beautiful women, and I have been so since basically I hit puberty. And, throughout the years, I have had my absolute favorites. From total wife material to dangerous demonesses of desire. From the 50s to the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, until today, the adorable, the sexy, the powerful, the elegant, the cool, the mysterious, the known, the half-known, the almost unknown, from different parts of the entertainment industry, from the world of music to the world of sports, and of course, actresses from Europe, Asia, Africa, Oceania, North America, South America, unique, charismatic, and almost intoxicatingly beautiful, from different age categories and different body shapes. I've loved them all. But there is only one goddess, Salma Hayek. Ever since I saw her the first time in 1996, she has been my one true girl. And weirdly enough, even today when she's pushing 60, my Facebook feed is just filled with pictures of her when she looks like this, and this, and this, and this. Jesus Christ, how is that even possible? Maybe with an army of personal trainers, a box of makeup, and maybe a filter or two, but still, she is sexier and more charismatic than more than half of the famous women half her age. Jesus Christ. You know that when you actually have to think for a couple of seconds who you would have picked. The 1996 version or the 2023 version. Of course it is the 1996 version, but still, you had to think about it for a second. And that fucking says something. The point is that if there was a movie that included Salma Hayek in some form or fashion, me and my Salma Hayek enthusiastic friend would go and see that movie for, oogling purposes. And sometimes these movies were really good, and sometimes these movies were really bad. And sometimes she was barely in it, and sometimes she was, the focus of attention. She was always the focus of our attention, I'll tell you that. But today we're going to take a look at one movie that I think wasn't that successful and wasn't that good. We're of course talking about the movie Fools Rush In. It feels a little sad to talk about this, so relatively close to Matthew Perry's death, but we're gonna do our best, shall we? Let's go! So Matthew Perry plays this, big town architect of some description, which I've read somewhere is the most common profession that you will have in a romantic comedy. And he goes to this, conference thing in Las Vegas, and there he meets Salma Hayek, and they kind of hit it off, and I would, and so would you. Just look at her, oh my god. Anyway, so they have this one night stand, but afterwards they never see each other again. They don't exchange phone numbers, stuff like that. They were just there to, take pleasure from each other. But a few months later, she shows up again and tells him that, well, I'm pregnant. And there they have one of the only few really funny and charming discussions they will have in the entire movie. The thing about the condom, and those comments that Matthew Perry, does about these things, that is the only reason for the condom to exist, to avoid, situations like this. But nevertheless, pregnant she is, and she tells him that, you're maybe the father of this child, but it's my responsibility, and I will, raise it on my own with my family and stuff like that. And he tells her that, well, I just want to meet your family, at least once, and they go and meet them, and afterwards he kind of gets this idea that maybe we can have this sort of relationship after, we have met and done the things we wanted to do. Essentially, trying to see if there is a possibility for a relationship after, the passion have, I don't know, smoldered or whatever it is that they are, talking about. So they try to build a relationship after the fact. So are they going to end up together? What is going to happen with her pregnancy? And, can they overbridge the differences between them? That's what we're going to find out. Now, this movie has a lot of problems I normally have with romantic comedies. The biggest problem is Matthew Perry himself. I think that the guy has fantastic comedic timing and has a lot of charm, and under the right circumstances he can be a real asset to any movie. Just look at, you know, the whole 9 yards. Here it doesn't work. I don't know why. They're trying to sort of make him Chandler, sort of, but also really not. And he's really struggling to, you know, make us really care about his character and stuff like that. And he has absolutely horrible chemistry together with Salma Hayek, who has all the chemistry in the world, but together they're ships in the night that passes and will never meet. And this made me actively think that you two probably shouldn't be together, but the movie will struggle, and they will tell you, and they will fight to tell you that they should be together, and you will like when they end up together. And then we have 8 tons of cliches being thrown at us, some old, some new, and some, my God, how old they are. And one of the most egregious things I thought was the very obvious and very, you know, unnuanced differences between his stuck-up, cold, conservative parents, you know, in contrast towards her down-to-earth Mexican family, you know, with the big family feel and the coziness around the table and the rambunctiousness and all that stuff. It just made me go, oh God. The thing is that I could never get into the story. And Fools Rush In also struggles a whole fucking lot to fill out the 109 minutes that this movie, you know, goes on for, which is far too long for this type of movie. It should have been snappier, and it should have been quicker, and it should have gotten, you know, faster to the good bits, of which there are very few. There isn't really any jokes that really lands here, and because they have such bad chemistry and they have so uninteresting story together, that we're actively, you know, rooting for them to find somebody else who will fit them better, because they're basically too much difference between them as people, and they're basically too much of a difference of personality, so they really don't fit together. It is basically like, you know, The Proposal, where Ryan Reynolds said, should I, you know, go to the airport? I said when I saw that movie, no, stay, you're terrible for each other, let her go. But he will go, of course, and, you know, the movie ended in horrible, contrived fashions. That was even more contrived and more horrible than this one did. Coming to think of it, I think The Proposal is one of my least favorite romantic comedies of all time. The ending to that movie almost made the ending to this movie palatable, considering, you know, that there is not a lot of stuff that is happening throughout Fools Rush In until the very ending, where they throw everything at you in a very contrived and very overbooked, overcooked, and overcomplicated finish to the whole thing, which I didn't buy for a fucking second. So, should you see this movie? If you're really into, you know, romantic comedies and stuff like that, there is stuff here that, you know, you probably would like more than I do. I don't really like romantic comedies that much. And no matter how much charm and charisma Salma Hayek has, she doesn't have any to work with here. And also, usually what the saving graces were for most romantic comedies were the fact that they always had memorable, funny, charming, and quick and witty side characters. Let's compare this thing to, let's say, the kind of rancid movie My Best Friend's Wedding from 1999 with Julia Roberts. It's not a very good movie, and you don't really care that much about what's going to happen to our main characters, but the side characters are so interesting and they're so much fun that we're kind of, yeah, this movie is kind of good because of, you know, the good side characters. In this case, we don't have that. Now, not everything is doom and gloom when it comes to Matthew Perry's movie career. He was able to make one of my personal favorite romantic comedies of all time, Three to Tango, where he has great chemistry with Neve Campbell, where he has a lot of great comedic sequences that he's involved in, and has a fantastic and funny side character in the form of Oliver Platt. In this movie, he has none of those things. So it is not a bad movie, but it's just too long and it goes nowhere, and we don't really have an arc for our characters. And I'm really struggling to try to maintain my interest in the whole thing, and in the end, apathy won, and this movie just, you know, went into the void that was the late 90s romantic comedies, some of which were pretty good, but most of them was pretty lame. They didn't take any risks and they didn't do anything out of the ordinary. This is just another one of these examples. It's not bad, it is just really forgettable, and I'm kind of sad that that happened, because there was, you know, an opportunity here to actually make a interesting and thoughtful romantic comedy. They just chose to not do that. It is a tricky movie to rate, considering that there is nothing wrong with this movie. It is just a bit lame and very forgettable. I give Fools Rush In 31 points. Almost all of those points goes to the enormous charm of Salma Hayek and her comedic timing. And there are a couple of jokes in this movie that do work, but for some reason, Perry's really struggling to get something going in this movie. I don't know why that is. Is it because were they worried that he was going to be too similar to his friend's character? Or was it just that this script was really written for somebody else and Matthew Perry just had to, replace him or something like that? I don't know. Nevertheless, it doesn't really work. So we'll see you next time for, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.